All right, so back here on the 1978 Toyota pickup, just sort of jumping all over the place here. So I got the right side of the suspension all assembled. So got, the spindle and ball joints and arms and all that other stuff fully assembled on this side. So that one's looking pretty good. Left the steering rack off just so I can move things around and everything, so that's all right. This side, no bueno. So bummer thing here, so the lower ball joint is either too narrow or the spindle for where the taper seats in there is too wide, because it just does not work at all. When I cinched the spindle down, it was actually burying the bottom of the spindle like inside of the cup there, so like way too down. The torque spec on that 75 foot-pounds, and I couldn't even get to 75, and the bottom arm was just buried in there. If you look on this side, the top part is fine. There's lots of room there. The bottom one's squished. It's at full droop. When this arm, you can see there's a bunch of angle in it. When it's parallel, it's fine, but you see it's pretty well squished in there. And like I said, the other side, that bottom of that spindle was inside the cup. And so that's definitely not going to work. At full droop, I mean, this moves. So, it's able to move around and everything. So I don't know that it'd ever even get that much angle in it. So I think this side's going to be fine. But the other side, it was bound up and it wouldn't even move. So I ordered some ball joint that's a little bit thicker than this. So this is a K722, I think is what the Moog part number is for the one that I have in here now. And then I ordered the K727, which apparently is a bit larger, and hopefully that'll work. So we'll see. That's a hassle. I was really hoping to get the front suspension done, but ain't happening now. So moving back over to the engine. So look at that shiny head, all purdied up, media blasted, and all fancied up. So I got this back from the machinist. They had to do a lot more work than what I was expecting, because you can't get exhaust valves for the 1J. You can buy the 2J valves, and they're larger diameter. And so that required a bunch more grinding in order to get those to fit in the valve seats. Fortunately, they didn't have to replace the valve seats. They just needed to grind them out. But there was enough material there for them to do that. They also did the valve guides on the exhaust side, all new seals and everything, the springs, all that stuff. And then even the intake valves are a bit larger, and, got all that sort of ground and seated, lapped. And so super fancy. That should be working out real good. I got some oil in there because I was just spinning it around, making sure I wasn't getting any weird binding or anything. It spins super free, which is great. Now I'm just gonna, try to get this sealed up a little bit. Working on, I just got some grease on that, so I'll have to clean that again. So there's these end caps that are on this side, so I gotta get those put on there. I just temporarily have the front cover in there, so I was able to set TDC and get the crank and valves lined up. It did seem with those larger diameter valves that when I was spinning it around, it did look like maybe they would interfere with the piston, which, the 1J was a non-interference engine. And so if you snapped a timing belt, it's sort of whatever. You're stranded, but you're not going to break anything. I'm not sure now. This might be an interference engine now, because it did seem like the valves, when I was rotating stuff around, were going past the bottom of the head and into the cylinder cavity, which, that's great for flow. Means that, I'd get a bit better exhaust and intake flow if they're opening in, wider and they're more surface area. But it also means that, before I could rotate the crank assembly and the valve train assembly whenever I wanted to, totally independent of each other, and it didn't matter because, the pistons and valves were never occupying the same space. There was enough room, and I don't think that's the case anymore. So I got to be careful with this. So, I got everything lined up and, cranked over and spun around, and everything seems fine. So, yeah, so steps here. So I got to get this little end cap seals, those done. I got all of the caps for the cams all torqued down to spec. 14 foot-pounds for those, but you got to do it in increments. Head bolts went in just fine. So head studs, I guess now. Those all went in just fine. That goes up to 80 foot-pounds, which, on an engine stand wants to spin around on you, but I got it done. Not a big deal. Got all the spark plugs covered up, so no gunk or whatever in there. These don't take a gasket, so these cam caps on the front don't take a gasket, so they just held in with sealant. And so I did that yesterday, and I let it cure overnight and then torqued these ones down. So these should be good to go. I did get new cam seals, so I got to push those in. So these are the new cam seals that go on the front. So I got to take the cover off and put the cam seals on. And then after that, I will replace the water pump and the oil pump and seal the pan and everything. So hopefully I'm on the home stretch here, which of course, now that I opened my big mouth and said that, I'm going to run into another problem. But yeah, this is a good step. And, it was a bunch of money that I didn't want to have to spend in order to get that head rebuilt and valved and everything. But it's going to work out pretty good, hopefully. So, nice to have some shiny parts on this this rusty old motor. All right, thanks. See you in the next one.